So robots, they are everywhere in the news right now. While the robot hype is building up, there are also robots that are failing like really bad. Today I want to talk about what's actually happening with robots right now, why they're harder to build than you might think, and if you're interested in this field, at the end of the video I'll show you the step-by-step path of getting into robotics. If that sounds good, hit that like button and let's get started. First, I want to show you a contrast. On one side, we have very big promises. Elon Musk recently said this.
I think humanoid robots will be the biggest product ever. The demand will be insatiable.
But on the other side, we have what is actually shipping today. There's a company called Robotics that makes a humanoid robot called Boomy. It costs about $1,380. It can interact with other humans, including children, and it's designed for education, students, and home use. I was pretty shocked by the price point, so I looked into how they did this. They brought the price down by using in-house hardware, lightweight materials, and local supply chains in China. Now compare that to something like the 1X Neo robot. This one costs around $20,000 or about $499 a month if you subscribe. Delivery will start in 2026. And it's been heavily criticized because during the demonstrations, the robot was mostly teleoperated. That means a human was controlling it remotely in a moped. It's kind of like playing a video game with a VR headset, and the company calls this the expert mode. They say that they use it to collect data so the robot can learn. Technically, that makes a lot of sense that they do need data, but practically and socially, it makes people uneasy because most people don't really want a remote person watching them through a robot body inside their home. On top of that, Neo struggled with basic tasks like closing a dishwasher or cracking a walnut. But Musk is optimistic. He thinks there's a breakthrough coming.
If Optimus can watch videos, YouTube videos or how-to videos or whatever, and based on that video, just like a human can, learn how to do that thing, then you really have task extensibility that is dramatic. I think we can solve these things in the next few years.
At this point, a lot of people might be asking the same question. Why do robots need to look like humans at all? I asked Dr. Heather Culberson, an associate professor of computer science at USC, this exact question. Why is it important for the robots to look like humans?
So that is a very, very good question. I will argue that it's not required that the robots look like humans. People like humanoid robots because we're able to connect with them, form kind of social bonds with them. One of the benefits of having a human-like robot in the home is their ability to work in a very cluttered environment. So for example, your home has stairs, kids' toys everywhere. It has doors that have to be opened. That is in contrast to, for example, a robot with wheels isn't going to be able to handle stairs. You would want it to be able to use your own cleaning tools. And so not being able to have a specific like connector or have to make any specific type of adaptation. So having a human-like hand would be very beneficial for that as well. But it isn't 100% necessary.
Yeah, unless you're like have your own tools inside and you just pull them out. That would be even more expensive, I guess.
Yes, definitely.
Now, this leads to an even bigger problem than just hardware, common sense. A kid knows not to drop a heavy object on someone's foot. And most people also know not to put metal in a microwave. These things seem very obvious to us human, but for a robot, not so much.
Neo turns on the stove and throws some paper on and walks away.
Physically, can the robot do that? Yes.
This is where robotics stopped being just an engineering problem. I asked Dr. Culverson about the common sense issue.
Common sense is not actually all that common. And so that kind of separates, robots completing tasks and robots interacting with people. And both are really needed. So we cannot ignore HRI, the human robot interaction aspects of this, because we are going to have humans in the home. So we have to understand what are the human expectations around the robot. How do you want the robot to interact with the people in the home? So not only do we have to worry about the technical aspects of can the robot do the tasks in the home, but you have to worry about the social science aspects of it as well. How should the robot interact with the home? So it's not just a single answer because it's very much dependent on culture as well as age. So my mom, for example, would have very different expectations of a robot than I would or my nieces would. Someone who is in the United States would have very different expectations of a robot than someone who is in Asia. So it's not a simple single solution. It's a really, really big social science problem and something that we need to make sure is solved before we start putting robots in the home.
Robotics is a very complex problem, and that's also why there is no single path of getting into robotics. So let's talk about it. How do you get into this field? There are basically three paths. First, we're going to take an overview of the three paths, and then I'll walk you through what to study exactly for each individual path.
It really depends on in which area of robotics does a person want to get into, because we can't say robotics is one thing. It's very, very interdisciplinary and it's very broad. If you, for example, are interested in building a robot, working with the mechanics of a robot, or helping legged robots move, that might be something more like mechanical engineering, because you need to look at the hardware, you need to understand the motors, you need to understand controls. Whereas if you want to work with the brain of the robot, then something more like computer science might be a better choice of a degree. So you can focus on more the algorithm side, the data side, the AI. And then if you want to go on the human side, looking at how humans interact with robots and social aspects and how we can create these effective interactions between robots. That's very interdisciplinary. You're not just learning about like algorithms and programming, but now you're bringing in like the social sciences and perception, some neuroscience as well. So you're really having to study cross-disciplinary information.
So let me break down the paths and the topics based on what's available at places like USC, which is where Dr. Culberson's at. If you're more interested in building the physical robots, mechanical engineering is your path. A good example course is AME 341 Mechatronics course. It's a 2-semester sequence. The first semester is instrumentation and measurement. This is about sensing, which is about how the robot feels the world. You'll learn how electronics actually work, like using amplifiers and filters to clean up noisy sensor signals. You also learn how to take messy analog signals and turn them into clean digital data that software can actually process and use. You'll also get comfortable with real lab tools like oscilloscopes, function generators, and multimeters. And you learn how to document your work properly by writing clear, professional engineering reports. Second semester is device control and integration. This is about how the robot acts, using sensor data to make a mechanical system do something intelligent. You'll learn how to put everything together, combining mechanical parts, electronics, and sensors into one working system. You'll be programming microcontrollers to control hardware in real time, usually using C or C++. You learn to drive motors like DC motors, stepper motors, and servos so that the robot can actually move around the house. And you get into basic optical systems like using lasers or light sensors to measure distance and speed, which is the foundation of things like LiDAR. If you want to focus on the human-robot interaction side, there are courses like CSCI 641. You'll learn the algorithms around how a robot should behave around people. And you'll learn things like how robots can estimate what humans want using things like probability and inference. You'll also learn how robots and humans stay aligned on a task, and how to teach robots by showing them what to do instead of hard coding every step. There's also human feedback, which is like rewards or corrections. These can be used to shape the robot's behavior over time. And you also learn how to design user studies to test whether people actually trust and understand the robot. If you want to work on the brain part of the robot, there's the AI side. You'll start with foundations of robotics like CSCI 445. This is where you actually build and program the robots. It will be a very hands-on coding type of a course where it teaches you how to program physical machines to navigate the messy real world. There are 3 core areas. You'll learn to process sensor data, which is called sensing. use algorithms to plot safety routes, which is planning, and manage motor voltages for fluid movement, which is called control. You also learn how to use the robot operating system, which is basically the backbone that lets different parts of a robot talk to each other. And you also dive into core math behind robotics, like kinematics for motion, SLAM for figuring out where the robot is, and path planning algorithms like RRT for navigating complex spaces. You also want to learn machine learning, the part that teaches robot to recognize human patterns, gestures, and speech. A course like Introduction to Machine Learning is usually a split into three big parts. First, you learn supervised learning, where the model learns from labeled data using things like linear and logistic regression, SVM, and kernel methods. Then you move into neural networks and deep learning, where you learn how multi-layer models work, how backpropagation works, how to actually train them. And finally, there's unsupervised and reinforcement learning, where the goal is to find patterns in data or teach agents like robots to learn through trial and error. This part is pretty math heavy, so you're not just calling libraries like an AI engineer would, you're actually driving the math underneath using a lot of linear algebra, probability, and multivariable calculus. Most of this will be done in Python using the standard machine learning stack like NumPy, Pandas, scikit-learn, and often PyTorch for deep learning. Now, if you want a deeper breakdown of the machine learning topics and a roadmap for that, I made a separate video that goes into the details of it all, so I'll see you there.